look into your eyes, it's like watching the night sky or a beautiful sunrise. There's so much they hold, and just like the old stars, I see that you've come so far to be right where you are. How bold is your soul? I won't give up on us, even if the skies get rough. I'm giving you all my love. I'm still looking up, and when you're needing your space to do some navigating, I'll be here patiently waiting to see what you find. 'Cause even the stars, they burn. Some even come to the earth, and we've got a lot to learn, and God knows we're worth it. No, I won't give up. I don't want to be someone who walks away so easily. I'm here to stay and make the difference that I can make. Our differences, they do a lot to teach us how to use the tools and gifts we got. Yeah, we got a lot at stake. And in the end, you are my friend. And yes, we did intend for us to work. We didn't break, we didn't burn. We had to learn how to bend without our world caving in. I had to learn what I got and what I'm not and who I am. And I won't give up on us, even if the skies get rough. I'm giving you all my love. I'm still looking up, still looking up. I won't give up on us. God knows I'm tough enough, and we've got a lot to learn, and God knows we're worth it. I won't give up on us, even if the skies get rough. I'm giving you all my love. I'm still looking up.
Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's meditation for this Sunday's service. I first would like to invite you to get into a comfortable position, whether that's sitting down or lying down, whatever works for you. You can close your eyes and just begin to breathe in and out. Inhale and exhale. And as you keep breathing, make the choice to let go of any worries or fears you may have at the moment. Release the past, release the future. Settle in and begin to be fully present in the now. It is safe to go within and connect to your heart space and feel your feelings. now would like you to imagine that you are your inner child. You can choose any age that suits you, and imagine you are smiling and laughing. You are at peace, because all of your needs are being met, every single one of them. You may be outside playing or running around, or maybe you're eating ice cream. Whatever it is, just feel into being so peaceful and happy because all of your needs are being met. Your physical needs, your emotional needs, and your spiritual needs. You have the perfect divine parents that know exactly how to love you. And they know exactly how you need to be loved. They know exactly how you are asking to be loved. They are patient, they are kind, they are compassionate. They know how to provide loving discipline. They just love you unconditionally. They see you as perfect. They see you as whole and complete. They support you. They encourage you to be yourself. They encourage you to follow your dreams and passions. And they shower you with love. And you just feel so supported and loved by them. I now invite you to realize that this is the truth. In truth, you are divinely and perfectly parented by God, by Mother God and by Father God. I invite you to ground into the truth that you are a divine child of God and you are loved perfectly by God. You have the perfect parents. They are God, Mother God and Father God, and they are always loving you perfectly. You can slowly begin to open your eyes as you make the choice to give yourself the divine parents that you need, and to reparent yourself in a way that feels good to you. Make the choice to be in union with God here as you heal your inner child with love. Thank you so much for joining this meditation, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the service. Bye.
Hi, we're Stan and Jana. Welcome to the Sunday service, and today we will provide for you the card reading for the Church of Union Sunday service.
So the card deck that we are using is this one. They are the self-care cards by Cheryl Richardson. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So the first card we have
is this one.
Playfulness. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's also something written at the back of the card. It says, play with a child. Children are your greatest teachers. Yeah. See that? Okay.
So what I get from this card is basically how important it is also in your day-to-day life to also schedule playtime in and to make sure that you're connecting with your inner child, even though you're an adult and have a lot of responsibilities in your day. It's also important that you like parent your inner child perfectly by also scheduling in playtime, scheduling in breaks or something during your day, and to really connect with yourself and to really see what makes you laugh, what makes you joyous, like what can you include in your day, what makes you feel happy, joyous, and playful. And yeah, that's what I get from this card.
Definitely, because also like God is pure fun, joy, lightheartedness and happiness. And when you follow your play, when you follow your fun, also what your inner child, because your inner child is a part of who you are and how God created you. And inner child or children in general see most things very playful in a very fun way. Take life a bit easy or a bit relaxed, I also think, and are in the moment. And so you listening to your inner child, or where your inner child is guiding you, it's God through your inner child, is very important, and that can bring a lot of harmony and peace and joy and lightheartedness to yourself and to your twin flame union. And so that's important. And then the next card that we have is this one. Opportunity. And at the back of the card it says, release your ties to the past. When you let go of the old, you make room for the new.
So what I get from this card is like that you need to release all of the extra pressure that you put on your shoulders, and that you also like look at the places where you're basically like not playful, not happy, where you actually like not daring to be your inner child anymore, because you have so much like responsibilities during the day, or so many things to take care of, and you basically forget to like be your inner child, be playful, because we're all children of God. We're all meant to play through life and to flow through life.
Yeah, for example, when children see a huge mess, or like, when there's a huge mess and children are in the midst of it, same like when they are in the sand or when they are playing in the forest somewhere, they know how to help themselves. They know how to use that as an opportunity and to build something beautiful out of whatever, how maybe it looked like for adults, or for our thinking sometimes, but seeing it from an innocent place and from a creative place, and doing what you have and use it for the greater good for yourself and God through you, right? And yeah, that's definitely very helpful. And also, like you said, to let go of the old and to do the best what you know, but also that you change sometimes the old, and maybe rethink, that you change your paradigm, or you change your way of living, your way of being and thinking, and how you operate. And you can learn, you can learn from other people, you can learn from children. And that's what we are here for as children of God. And the third card that we pulled is this one, Independence. You see a woman with wings, and at the back it says, decide for yourself, exercise your right to choose. Yeah.
So, like probably the people that are listening are maybe all adults. Like when you're an adult, it's very important to realize that you're like independent, that you have your own
autonomy, right?
Autonomy, your own free will, your own choice. And you do not need to wait on a parent anymore to say like when you can play and how long you can play and what you need to do.
God gave you wings. Yeah.
It's basically like up onto you, and together with God, of course, like what feels best or what feels good to you or to your heart or your soul, to like literally put a schedule in place where you can also like have play and feel you and feel really flowing through the day and feel like your playful natural self. And you're like, you should be actually like a playful child, and that's how you enter the kingdom of heaven. So
yeah, exactly. It's by you following your joy, it's by you following your happiness, everything that is of God, and you also listening to your inner child. It's very important, because your inner child and God, through your inner child and God yourself, through you, knows the way. And all you need to do is fly to where you want to go, fly to where your dream and your heart is calling you to go, because God gave you wings. And with the teachings of union, you have wings. Yeah.
So this was our card reading for the Church of Union today, and we wish you a nice rest of the Sunday service.
Yeah, take
See
care.
you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Hello and welcome to today's Sunday service. I'm Lara, and today I'd like to welcome you to Kanisha's sermon on reparenting. So I'm very happy about the topic Kanisha has chosen for today's sermon. Yeah, because it is very close to my heart and also very connected to my own life purpose. And yeah, I have had a lot of experiences with this myself on my own ascension path. Kanisha talks about mothering and fathering herself and how important and healing it is and was to invite this healing on her ascension path. And yeah, I can understand that so well. I'm a mother myself, and I worked as a kindergarten teacher for a long time. So being with children and parents has shaped me a lot. And I was able to see and recognize a lot here. Parents who don't heal themselves pass on unhealed patterns to their children, and yeah, the same hurts and unhealthy patterns are repeated over generations. And yeah, that's what I also experienced in my own biological family. When I was growing up, my parents didn't know anything like self-love and God, and I grew up in an atheist family, and I have always felt like a stranger or that I didn't belong here. And my parents' approach to life was so different from what I felt and what I desired. Yeah, and so I feel like I closed myself off. I closed myself off from relationships and I did my own thing. For example, my parents didn't have loving communication. They only argued and fought against each other, which is what you observe as a child, like a program. And because it was so painful, I closed myself off. But of course, these patterns and programs come up, and at the latest, when you heal with your twin flame, and then you have to let go of these things. And yeah, that is necessary. You may learn to see Father and Mother God as your true parents, and that what you experienced was not divine. And then you may give yourself all this love and parent yourself. And yeah, you are able to let go of the old and learn anew how relationships can really, really be and feel like if they are loving. And yeah, we learned that from Jeff and Shaleia. They are role modeling for us what true love is. And yeah, now with Grace, we can see how perfect family life is really meant to be. And what we do when we heal all those old wounds where we weren't loved as children the way we needed to be, is to heal and love the next generation as well, so that our children don't have to experience the same patterns again. And this is what I saw so often in kindergarten, and often made me so sad at that time, how unconscious parents are with their children. So I am deeply grateful to have found the teachings of union and the work that Jeff and Shaleia teach and share with us to heal me, to heal my twin flame union, the benefits for our children, what they receive, and also to share the teachings with others. So in her sermon, Kanisha goes into all aspects and depths of reparenting yourself. And yeah, she's inviting us to find peace with our own childhood, with our parents, and come closer to God with this impactful healing. So with those words, I'm looking forward to Kanisha's beautiful sermon on reparenting, and I hope you enjoy watching it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Church of Union's Sunday service. I am Kanisha, and I will be your minister for today's service. Let's start with our opening odes, followed by our opening prayer. You can take a deep breath, and you can join me out loud or in your heart. I am the only child of God, forever part of Him. I'm created by Him in perfection, and there I always remain. My mind is my sanctuary, where I keep His holy creation sacred. I will only allow in His voice. I will only accept His word. Today I will hear the word of God. I surrender myself to His teachings through His divine channel. I will honor what He has spoken and accept it as His will. I will be obedient to His word, for this is my salvation. In Christ's name, Amen. Well, today I would love to talk with you about the journey of reparenting yourself on your spiritual journey, on your twin flame journey. And this was a subject that I was very resistant to at first because I had a lot of resentment and upset when it came to having to recognize that I had to really reparent myself in many ways that I didn't receive from my own parents growing up. And as I started moving through my spiritual journey, I recognized that about 80% of my programming and patterns that I picked up stemmed from childhood. The other 20% was preteens, teenage years, and my young adult life. But the majority of it stemmed from a childhood. And that was something that required me to have to be very vulnerable in this space, because it's kind of uncomfortable to have to go back into these places in your past where you had been hurt before. And one of the things that I learned on my journey was that we picked up programming and patterns from our parents, starting with our mother right before birth, and then all the way and up until about 7 years old is when we start taking more programming on from society. And ultimately that's the programming that we're at, is by the time we get to 7 years old. So you have all these adults walking around with programming from right before birth to 7 years old and making really big decisions just from childhood programming. And so when I started to recognize this helped me start to see my brothers and sisters in a different light. And I could see where they were operating from their wounded child space over their, what we call a spiritual adult space. And this was something that was really important for me to learn, because it allowed me to have a lot of compassion in these places where I would usually judge, or where I'd find myself being angry and frustrated because I was just not clear on why people couldn't act like mature adults or couldn't move through vulnerable conversations or communicate in places that required a level of maturity. And so one of the things that I recognized that I was picking up from childhood was the way that I communicated. And the way that I communicated was very defensive. This was something that I recognized within my parents' marriage, was that they were very defensive with one another. And so it's ultimately what I had picked up. I also had picked up these beliefs that I wasn't enough, and that only my basic needs would be taken care of, but anything else after that was too much or felt like a burden, or something else came first. I also picked up not having healthy relationships with money, and also not having a healthy relationship with the divine masculine, which I'll go into a little bit deeper. But ultimately, I realized that as I was going deeper into my healing journey, there was a part of me that really wanted to hold on to victimhood and ultimately blame my parents for my childhood. And one of the things that I remember hearing Shaleia say was that what happened to you as a child was not your fault. However, how you handle it and take care of things as an adult is now your responsibility. And that required a level of humbling yourself and allowing yourself to really start to go into those places that felt very uncomfortable and that ultimately held a lot of pain and hurt in that space. And so I recognized that I really wanted to heal this within myself for many reasons. One, your twin flame will reflect your upsets that you have with your parents back to you. Your children will also reflect them back to you. I also recognized that I didn't want to continue passing on the patterns that I had picked up from my parents down to my children and then continue that same pattern through the generations. So I made a core choice that that was going to end with me in my healing. And then also learning how to set boundaries in order to heal my past wounds and inner child upsets from childhood, and allowing myself to remove myself from the place that I ultimately needed to heal from and set boundaries with my parents in order to do that. So what I really wanted to touch on here was just really looking at giving yourself the space to be honest about things in your past or your childhood that maybe you really hadn't allowed yourself to process or move through. There has been many times where I'll ask myself, like, why do I continue this pattern, or where did I pick it up from? And when you really give yourself the space to sit with yourself and ask God and ask your consciousness, it will come up. You will be able to go into your consciousness and go back to the core root of where you picked it up from or who you picked it up from. And so when I started doing this, I started having memories come back that I completely had put to the back of my consciousness and tried to forget. One beautiful thing about the brain is that it stores every single memory that you've ever had, and you can go in and find them or recall them just by asking your consciousness. And so as I did this, there were things that I realized, because it was so painful and it hurts so much, that I just stuffed them down somewhere in the back of my consciousness and just forgot about them until it was time to come to the surface and I was ready to heal it. Anytime anything is coming up, it's because it is ready for you to heal. And so as I went deeper in knowing who my true twin flame was, of course, he started bringing up upsets around that my parents ultimately were upsetting me about. Like when I let me find my words here. When I would be upset with him and I would do the mirror exercise, it would a lot of the times bring me back to a situation that I had experienced with my parents. And it surprised me because I was like, oh, he's not the person I'm actually upset with. He is just mirroring to me because somewhere in my consciousness, I'm holding on to this separation and it's meant to be healed and cleared. And so when I started to really look at these, some of them weren't so profound until they were in my face, which can be very uncomfortable. But it was really me having to recognize that there was a lot of my past that I was avoiding and that I was suppressing. And it was no longer healthy for me to do that, especially if I was making the core choice to heal. And so one of the things that really surfaced in my twin flame journey was having to heal the lack of a father figure in my life. My biological father was not a part of my life up until about 3 or 4 years ago. And my stepfather fathered me up until about the age of 8. And so when I really started to look at my past relationships, I recognized that I was always searching for the love that I wanted from my father in my partners, which to me sounded weird at first, but it was true. It was like I was searching for attention and validation and reassurance, all these things that a little girl should receive from her father. I did not. And so I was seeking them in my partners, and ultimately it wasn't really in my face and showing me that until I had it mirrored back to me by my twin flame. And so I started healing the relationship with my father in my heart using the mirror exercise. And one of the most beautiful things occurred, which was my biological father reaching out to me and connecting with me. And we ended up being able to start mending our relationship. And a lot of things came to the surface that was not shared with me as a child. But as I started to heal, of course, the truth always has to come to light, to the surface. And so I was able to start to build a healthy relationship with my biological father due to this work, due to the mirror exercise, which I'm so very grateful for, because that was not something that I was ever expecting or that I thought was even possible. But to be able to start building that relationship was really important for me, and it allowed me to start feeling more safe and vulnerable in the space of the men in my life. And so the other thing that came up for me in this space was healing the father figure of not trying to project this onto my twin flame. There was a time in our journey where he was very clear that he didn't want to be in a committed relationship because there were children involved. Not that he didn't want to father my children in any type of way. It was just that there was a lot of fears around that were coming up for him, and a lot of insecurities that he really needed to work through. And when I sat with this and I did the mirror exercise around it, I realized that I was putting energetically this pressure of him stepping into that father role and being the father that I desired for my boys to have, but ultimately I was wanting them to have it because I didn't have it. And so when I recognized that, I made a new choice to put God in that space. And once I did, things shifted massively in my twin flame union to where it just started to show up in my reality that he did want to be a part of our lives in that way, and that it was something that he did truly desire, but because there was blocks and fears in that space that I was holding on to, he had to mirror it back to me. So this is why clearing upsets with your parents is really important. But what I had to do in those spaces was go in and give myself that fatherly love that I needed, but I received it from God. I imagined going into my mind and going into my heart and having God give me all of the just reassurance and validation and unconditional love and attention that I really desired and seeked as a child. And when I did that, I didn't have to look to my twin flame to do that. And it ultimately took that pressure off of him, and he was able to naturally meet me in that space without me trying to pull him in there, convince him to step up in that space. And so when your twin flame is having some resistance in any area of your life, it's really asking you to look within and feel your feelings and get clear on what the block is there, because a lot of the times they're just showing not a lot of the times, every time they're showing you something in your consciousness that you're holding on to. And once you let it go and heal it and come into oneness consciousness or Christ consciousness in that space, you will see them automatically meet you there, because they are you, they're one with you. And so with that, the mirror exercise, it requires you to take full responsibility of what's happening in your reality. And at first this was very triggering for me, especially with the childhood that I had. That was something that was very hard for me to wrap my mind around, because it almost felt like I was being asked to take responsibility of my childhood, but that was never what I was asked. It was, are you going to allow what happened as a child to continue playing out in your present reality, because you're not giving yourself the space to heal it and to take responsibility of yourself now? And ultimately, like I said at the beginning, there was a part of me that wanted to stay in that victimhood mentality and blame my family, blame my parents. Like, this is why I am the way that I am. And having to recognize that ultimately, at the end of the day, how I show up now is all on me. And if I know that some of the ways that I'm showing up is stemming from something that I picked up from childhood and I have the tools to heal it, that is now my responsibility to go into those places and give myself the love and attention that is being called for in that space. So when I really started taking responsibility of my healing and moving forward with these tools that I had, my life started to shift in a way that I didn't know was possible. I had this belief in my mind that my life was always going to be the way that it was, that I was always going to have chaos in my relationships, that I was always going to have money issues, that I was always going to be abandoned by the men in my life and that I couldn't depend on them, and that I ultimately had to be the man of my life, which was very uncomfortable for me since I am the divine feminine. And the mirror exercise really helped me start to go into these deep, dark places that required a lot of love. And there was something that Shaleia had said in Twin Flames Finding Your Ultimate Lover book, where they talked about how she went in and healed her childhood as an infant with her mother and was able to, in step 4, go in and give her the nurturing love and comfort that she required as an infant that she didn't receive from her parents, and that she ultimately was able to go back and heal her childhood. And when I read this for the first time, I was in awe. I was like, I can go back and heal the things that are coming up for me. And ultimately, I did really start to heal the trauma there in MAP, in mind alignment process, which is almost like another layer of the mirror exercise. And this was something that was really, truly important for me because I did struggle with PTSD. I struggled with flashbacks. I struggled with intrusive thoughts. And I thought that that was something I was going to have to live with for the rest of my life. But with the mirror exercise and the support of MAP, mind alignment process, I no longer have intrusive thoughts. Or not intrusive thoughts, but I know, because those kind of just come and go, but I no longer have intrusive thoughts about my trauma. I no longer have flashbacks about my trauma, which is, it's going to make me emotional, which I'm very grateful for, because, again, that was something I thought was going to just be a part of my life for the rest of my life, and thank God it is not. So if you find that there are things in your childhood that were really hard for you and that you've suppressed or that you haven't allowed yourself to move through, it's safe to go in and reparent yourself and be the parent and be the adult that you needed in your childhood, and be able to do that in a safe space, in a safe way, by using the mirror exercise. The other thing that really transpired from doing this was my own relationship with my children and how it shifted, because ultimately my children were mirroring to me places within my consciousness where my inner child was having a tantrum. There would be times where my kids would just lash out and just be upset, and I'm like, what is happening here? And when I would mirror and like really feel my feelings about it, it would take me to roughly around the same age that they were at the time that they were having their upset, and I could see where they were showing me an aspect of myself that had been ignored and I had avoided and really needed love into that space. And when I did, they would a lot of times relax or shift, or the upset would be over. And it was pretty truly amazing. And it was something that I started to really use as my benefit, is recognizing that my children were like my mini ascension buddies, and that they were part of me healing and ascending to God, and ultimately being able to teach them how to do the same. And that was something that was pretty profound for me. I also recognized that there were things that I was doing as a parent that I thought was very loving, which was more, it could be more damaging than loving, because what I was doing ultimately was overcompensating in ways that I didn't even realize. I was giving a lot of nurturing to my children, just overly nurturing them, coddling them. I think Shaleia helped me with this one at one point, by pointing out this upset. But I was coddling them, instead of recognizing all the love that I was trying to put on them was actually all the love that I truly desired within my heart. But because I didn't receive it as a kid, I overcompensated by trying to make sure that they never felt that way. I also projected the same exact energy onto my twin flame. And so reparenting yourself is going to be very profound. It might feel uncomfortable at first, but if you really receive the support with having an ascension coach, or really moving through the tools that you have and the resources that we have here for you, you will find that it actually is going to be very, very beneficial for your future self, for your families, for the generations after you, because you are teaching them ultimately how to heal any upset that comes up, but also you're healing a lot of those generation patterns now, and they're ending here with you now, so that you don't pass them along. And that is something that really truly makes me happy at my core, because that was one of my biggest fears as becoming a parent, is passing down or passing on the same patterns, or being the same parents that my parents were. Now, when I say this too, this is something that I've had to come to terms with and really heal within myself, is that my parents did the best that they could. And our parents tend to love us and parent us the way that they were loved and parented. When I really looked at that, I had a lot of compassion for my parents. I also realized that I had to forgive in many spaces. And forgiveness is never for the other person, it's always for you. It's to free you in your heart. And I started to be able to let go of needing their validation or needing their love. One of the things that my coach, Chrissy, had said to me one time was, you are seeking love from your mother when she's not even capable of being able to give herself that same love. So if she cannot give herself that love, then it's okay to let go of the expectation of her being able to give you that love. And that was really eye-opening for me, because this is very true. You can't give your children what you can't give to yourself and what you don't have. And so I was able to let go of attachment of needing something from my mother there, and just surrendering her to God and having compassion for her, and recognizing that it was really important for me to really be giving myself everything that I desire, so that I could share that and give that to my children. And I also recognized that this was something that we're not taught. We're not educated in this space of seeing that the way that we move through this world stems from many generations back. And that is going to show up in poverty consciousness and scarcity consciousness, and the way that your family moves through the world. Unless you're making a conscious choice to change that, you will continue that same pattern in your life as well. And so one of the things that I have had to really choose in my healing is to choose God as my parent, as my ultimate parent, and to also choose to parent with God in parenting my children. Because in truth, in spiritual truth, my children are God's children, and it is a privilege to raise them. God has given me the opportunity and the privilege to raise them in this lifetime, and to be able to teach them and bring them back home to God. And I also find a lot of peace in knowing that as a single mom with children and my twin flame, that my twin flame and I ultimately desire to parent, and will parent the same way, because we're one at the core. And for my children, they already feel that deep connection with my twin flame, and they already are calling him in. They've talked about him, they sense him, they know that he is meant to be in our family, and that there is patience required and allowing things to unfold. But ultimately, when you are a parent, you and your twin flame made that core choice together to have children in this lifetime, whether it's one of you or both of you, or together as a couple having children. But you will heal together in parenting your children, but also parenting each other here and there. You will have to parent your your twin flame, and they will have to parent you, and you will also trigger parent wounds within them too, and that requires a lot of compassion and love as well. So I find that this is something that is going to kind of be an ongoing thing, because I spent about 18 years with my parents and things come up here and there, but I've ultimately have learned to let go of the things in my past and let go of the blaming, let go of the projecting, and truly learn to reparent myself, be the person that I needed to be that I needed as a child. And when I do that, I have naturally, through my healing, called in parent figures who to this day do parent me. They look out for me, they check in on me, they love me like they are my parent. And this ultimately brings me to my last piece of recognizing that I was never abandoned in these places where I felt abandoned by my parents or by my family, because God does not abandon. And this brings me to a place in the book where they talk about this, and I would like to read it to you real quick. This is in Twin Flames, Finding Your Ultimate Lover. It says, God can never, ever abandon you. If God created abandonment, then it would be real, but it's an illusion because God only creates perfection, and we are one with our beloved Creator. When you don't want to be with yourself, you abandon yourself and thus open yourself up to the experience of being abandoned by others. This is how mirroring works. But if you open up your divine logic, you will see, as I have seen, that you cannot be abandoned by someone who never truly claimed you as theirs. So you were never abandoned because you have never been claimed by them in the first place. You just experienced the illusion based on the belief that you were claimed and loved by them. And this is really important for me to hear, because when I recognized that I couldn't be abandoned by God, and that I ultimately couldn't be abandoned by someone who didn't truly claim me, this really had me make a new choice in claiming myself, choosing not to abandon myself or to experience the illusion of abandonment. And again, by choosing that, I was able to see where in places where I thought I had been abandoned, God had always had a adult figure in that space to look out for me, even if it wasn't my parents. There was always a mentor or a teacher or just an adult who was always checking in on me and looking out for me. And though I was always hurt in this space, and at that time I couldn't really see them and I couldn't always receive them and their love, when I go back and look at it, I was just like, wow, like God always made sure that I was taken care of, even if it looked like I wasn't being taken care of by the people I wanted to be taken care of by. And so ultimately, you cannot be abandoned, especially if they did not claim you. And that is okay if they didn't, because like I said, if they're not able to give themselves those things, they're not able to extend that to you. That has nothing to do with you. And it's really important that you don't internalize that and see it as like you're not worthy or you're not enough or you're not deserving, because you were created worthy, you were created enough, and you were created deserving, and you were created to be loved, and you are love. And so when you allow yourself to let go of that hurt and that pain and choose forgiveness and compassion, and this takes time, this takes patience, this takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage. You will find yourself really feeling free in your life and beginning to create a new reality instead of your past recreating into your reality. So I hope this really helps you move forward in your life when it comes to just taking the next step. For me, it really allowed me to be a better parent. It really allowed me to make new choices in how I show up. And at one point, I honestly was terrified of having a little girl. I have two boys, but I was terrified of having a little girl up until probably 2 years ago, when it was just put on my heart that I really did desire to be a mom of a little girl. And God shows me signs and synchronicities that she is coming at the right time. And I am now in this place where I ultimately am like, wow, I would be an amazing mom to a beautiful little girl. But I had a lot of fears and doubts, and I said no to that for a very long time because of my own relationship with my mom. But as I really healed that, that really started to shift in my heart, and I found a new desire there that I didn't think was possible. So know that your healing works, and that it not only affects you, but it affects your entire family. And so, to summarize that, just allowing yourself to heal your past and take responsibility of your present self and your future self by using the mirror exercise and going into those places and truly giving yourself all the love that you need. And then also reparenting yourself in ways that just showing up as the adult that you needed. And also remember that if you do have kids, or kids in general, are here to help you heal. They're the closest thing to source. And so if you find yourself feeling triggered or upset around children, they're ultimately here to help you heal your own inner child. And also remembering that God is your true parent, and that you can go to God for anything and everything that you need. Setting healthy boundaries is going to be really important, and then having forgiveness and compassion for everyone that was involved. And ultimately, your healing is going to be the best for everyone in their highest good. So I hope that this brings a lot of peace to your heart, and I feel complete here. So let's go ahead and do our closing prayer. Father, I accept your word into my heart. I will honor your will in my life and will follow you without hesitation anywhere you ask. I know you guide me into your heart where I belong. I accept that you are everywhere and your teachings is in all things. God, I know you provide me clarity in this teaching of union, that I may be forever in union with you. I accept that you are in me as you are in my brother. I will not deny my brother your word, and will share your teachings with him in any way you ask, and only as you ask. For when I share my salvation with him, I fully claim my salvation in return to you with him. In Christ's name, Amen. Speaking this prayer in your heart means that you have accepted that you are on the path of awakening to your true divine nature. This is what it means to be a unionist. Follow the teachings of union with God wherever you find them, and purify your consciousness into perfect union with your Creator. And now for the closing Ohms. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you have a blessed and beautiful week. Bye-bye.
Hi everyone, I really enjoyed Kanisha's sermon so much and all of her valuable insights, and I hope you did too. So what stood out for me was that she has realized that she has everything she needs within herself, that she can now give herself all the love that she did not receive, for example, from her father in her childhood. And yeah, also what magical changes are taking place in her life as a result. And that it was always Father and Mother God, and she is in truth a child of God who is already completely loved. The healing that her twin flame brought into her life was also very remarkable, and I can see myself in that. And that as twin flames, we often mother and father each other. For me and my twin flame, it was also very important to forgive ourselves, and especially our parents, and yet to invite compassion here. I remember that my twin flame was really allowed to let go of a lot of resentment, because as a child he wasn't taught anything that he really needed in life. So no relationship to finances, not how to take care of the household independently, and all these practical life things. And today we have developed such a good perspective here on our own children, to really see that we are teaching them and that we are here to help them have a relationship with themselves, with life, and with God. And I can see what a blessing it is that your own children grow up with the teachings, and that they learn the mirror exercise in childhood. That they never have to wait for love, and that they have their twin flame in their lives from the beginning if they choose so, and can later create harmonious families for themselves. So this is such a blessing, and I received a lot from Kanisha's sermon. It was very healing. Thank you, Kanisha. And if what Kanisha shared and said resonates with you too, you can consider to tithe and donate to the church, so we can naturally expand the message of union with the world. So I invite you to tithe at unionism.org, and I invite you also to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And you can watch all of our previous sermons here and also on our website. You are also invited to our after-church tea time discussion, so please feel free to join our Facebook group, Unionism Spiritual Discussion Group. And I'm happy to see you there, and I hope you all have a beautiful Sunday, and see you all next time.